So thanks for coming back and doing some Joe. What I want to do today, I think, is kind of do a review, especially the first 6 kihon, and then, we'll see where that leads us. One of the things about when people try to do kata is kata is supposed to have a realistic rationale. Riai, that is the word. Riai means that it's in harmony with principles. And a kata actually is supposed to, it has to be an accurate portrayal of a life and death combat. What that means is that when you're doing a kata, you can't be doing the form. You have to be actually fighting the other person. Actually, there has to be danger. There has to be some threat. Kata are designed so that if everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, that each movement is an inevitable result of what's been happening up to that point. So a lot of times people have trouble with kata because they say, oh, well, this kata doesn't work in this particular instance. Something happens and, let me give you a little example. Tony, can I borrow you for a sec? Let me get you a sword. So let's say you look at Suigetsu, and he's going to come into attack. And now I come out here. Well, I'm past where he could attack me. He would have to come step up and try to raise his sword before he could attack me anyway. So I'm kind of safe here. The next motion in the kata is to come and attack here. The kihon is to attack like that. It's really it's a Honte-uchi from this point, just from here. And if you can see this, I've actually got it pretty much vertical, meaning that I can adjust correct for angles, things like that. So we have this. Then the next motion is he steps back, I aim right at his eyes, and then I come in to attack with the stick here. So let's say I do the kihon a little differently. So when he attacks, I come out of the line. A lot of people do a small movement here. That's not really what I'm getting at right now. Go ahead, and he comes back, and I come like this, and come like this, and the question is, how do I keep from getting cut right there? Because he's not really holding the sword up in the air. He just lifted it so he can cut. And if you've ever seen any kendo or done any kind of sword, I like that, it's got Honte-uchi marked on it. When somebody has the sword and they lift it, they're doing this. They're not standing there posing. This Jodan, this position, means I'm ready to cut right this second. So if he's ready to cut right this second when he goes to Jodan, and he starts cutting right now, I could be in real danger. So the kihon has to be correct. And the key part of the kihon that prevents you from getting cut there is having the stick in front of you. That's a fundamental idea. So he's going to come to attack, and I come off the line, recover the center line, attack here, and then here the correct way to do kihon is like this. So what I mean is that notice when my body moves. This is kind of, Popkin would love this particular analogy. If I do this, lift my foot as the Joe starts to come up, you can see that Joe's back here and he's cutting. And I'm going to run into that sword because I just walked forward into the sword. But if I'm here and I attack this way, now even if he starts to cut, I'm just going to come into him. If the sword tip comes forward, I come there. I've already got a weapon. And one of my senpai talks about weaponizing the Jo, is that right now it's a walking stick. I'm not really, I mean, I could attack. Oh, look, I just weaponized it. So when we do kihon, it affects whether the riai of the kata is valid, whether it makes sense, whether I'm going to walk into a sword and get killed, or whether the guy's really going to be driven back. So one of the things I've been working on is trying to understand when Sensei says koshi de, he says do it with the hip. What does that mean? Well, you always do things with your hip. I mean, if I've got to step over here and attack, I've got to move my hip to get to him. But I really didn't use my hip. I just walked with it. I didn't use the hip to create power in the stick. So if he holds his sword out, and you know, everyone knows the technique of hikiotoshi. If I do this, I want you to notice that I've already turned my hip, popped my heel up, and now I'm basically going to fall on his sword. That's okay, that's not great. It's better than hitting and trying to whack it with my arms, but not much. What happens is that if I start to move right now, once again I have that problem of I'm moving forward with the stick behind me and a sword in front of me. That's no good. What I want to do is this. And notice that the turn of the hip is delayed until that point. I want to actually have, I want to feel as if I am sitting on the sword. Really sitting. You don't put your butt down and then go find a chair. You find the chair first. And that's kind of what I want to do today, as I want to work on some kihon and work on that idea of actually using our when they say hip, the word koshi kind of means the whole pelvis. But I want to use that koshi to put power on. Instead of using it just to walk. Most of the time we don't need it to walk. I don't need to use my hip power to lift this Jo up in the air. So, ooh, you see how it just kind of dissipates that power. But what I want to do is, he's got a sword, bodies are slow, hands are fast. So I want to get this stick out there fast. I want to get it in position and not use up my power until the very last moment when I can actually apply that to the weapon. Okay, so thank you. Let's go ahead and we're going to do some exercises with Honte-uchi, Gyaku-te-uchi, hikiotoshi, maybe through the first 6, depends on how fast we go. Let's real quick, before we start working, let's do a real quick bow in, and we'll do it standing. So what I want you to do, normally in the Kuryu, when you bow to Shinzen, you're going to switch it to your left hand. This position called Taiso Yoi. Okay? So just kind of turn, we'll use this. Okay? Shomen ni. Okay? And then we'll just bow in general to each other. Right? All right. Okay. Let's guess everybody just spread out a little bit. And the solo kihon drill for this, the first movement is to take your stick, aim it at the eyes of your opponent, and then I want you to look at how my hand is. It's kind of already in a pushing position along the length of the Jo. It's kind of an easy thing to get lazy and hold it like this. This is a great way to hold it, but this is actually Gakute. This is a reverse grip. So I shift my palm into contact with the Jo, sock it in, and I have now got really good control of the weapon. I'm going to put it into the eyes of my partner as I step forward. So everybody, reach under, grab here, and push that out the rest of the way. And notice my posture doesn't change during that part. What I'm doing is, So if you feel yourself pushing and then pulling yourself back, that's a little bit of wasted motion. So here, Honte-uchi. I do that hip turn. So here, here. Now we're going to step. 1 and step. Turn the hand, draw back. When I say turn the hand, that means right now I'm in this grip. I have to get my thumb around to this side, draw straight back, a little bit of pressure in the Jo. Starts to come up overhead, gets into my grip, and I step and strike. And you shouldn't feel any feedback. In other words, you shouldn't feel a lot of shaking there, because that just implies that you're pulling back with your own muscles. This energy just goes out into our step. All right, so let's again draw, move it up into the grip, and strike. And one more, draw, come up over the top of the head into your grip, and step using your hip. Okay? Let's go backwards. Cup, draw, raise, strike. Draw, raise, strike. Draw, and strike. Let's do one more. And right here, Yame Motori. And step forward. Okay? So, I don't know if this is very different from the way you're doing it, but key issue is to maintain your body position, not to use your hip turn until you can actually apply that power. So, we all know this kind of, you can see it if I don't use a stick. If I were going to throw a punch, hey Robert, why don't you come out here? Okay, just going for a, target. Yeah, no, this is fine. Here. If I'm going to throw a punch and I do this, everybody knows that doesn't make any sense. Use my hip turn and then I reach out. That's not how you do it. Most people train to just use that hip punch right at the moment that they strike. That's a really good way. One of my senpais was reading an autobiography of Jack Dempsey, the boxer, not the fish. And he said that he explained the mechanics of his knockout punch. And he said what he would do was he would reach out with his fist and find the guy's face. And once he made contact, at this point, boom, he would turn his hip and sink his weight into it. And of course, he's throwing that at light speed, but you can see that's actually a really good idea, because hands are fast. Trying to get your body turn timed so that you're just going to hit the target at just the right time, that's hard. But just put your fist out there, and when you feel his chin, boom, drop. And I thought, well, that's cool. And that's the mechanism that we're using to generate power. We're going to put this out there on the weapon or on the, right where we're at our target, and then move our bodies. Okay? So let's just practice that a couple of times. We'll do another round back and forth of Honte-uchi. Knee is pushed forward over the middle of the foot in front of you. Yeah. And the back heel is at a slight angle, but the heel's not resting. It's a little bit off the ground and back. And the stick is lined up so that when you draw, it slides past your hip. Okay? If you have your foot square and the stick square, you just hit yourself, meaning you've got to turn anyway. This way, you're ready. So, Honte ni Kamai, Honte-uchi Yoi, and Hajime. Hey! 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 Going backwards. Hey! 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 Yame. McCoy. So let's take another look at what this does strategically, okay? And Karen, I'll borrow you this time. Karen, Nancy. Why did I say Karen? I don't even know anyone named Karen. Come on, sorry. Okay, so what I want you to think about when you're doing this is that this is a target right here. As I raise the stick, do you notice that it's still targeting you? Still targeting you. Now it's over here, but at this point, we have a technique that thrusts that way. But you can see how I'm not letting this off of the target at any time. As this starts to come across here, now I can use this end. If I pull this here and this end does this, you see how my hand's dropping? My target is now the floor. So there's always additional possibilities. You're leaving options open and attacking with both ends of the stick all the time. See here? So if something starts to go crazy, I can still use the weapon. Here, even here, I can attack legs, feet. They say that you shouldn't attack with the front end, with this end of the jo, until I'm out of targets. Right here, I still have a target at the ankle. We have techniques that target the ankle. I could go the inside of the knee. That's a good place to go. But right here, I've got two things. One of them is I've got this protecting me, and the other thing is that I've got a target. And I don't strike until that becomes my best option. All right? So I was just using it as a target. Anyway, but I want you to feel that also, because that's a really important thing. And so we're going to do one more Honte-uchi, and I want you to think about targeting here. As I raise the stick, think about targeting where your jo has a target until it loses the target. Until this point, now my only target is with this end. Does that make sense? Let's try that. Let's go slow. First thing we do is we're going to check our distance. Well, actually, the first thing we're going to do is going to bow. So with the sword at your hip and the stick is going to be in this position. When you bow, you drop the tip and you want to hold the jo with the back of your shoulder. And swordsman drops from the hip down. Everybody bows kind of straight, about 45 degrees, and come back up. Then the stick comes back up. So you're targeting with the stick, okay? So the swordsman is going to draw their sword, and this person with the stick is going to go to Honte Kamai, in other words, here, and you're going to adjust your distance. There you go. So what you want to make sure is that you're, go ahead, just straight forward. No, straight forward. Boom. Grab the end, come to the Kamai. Yeah. And this distance right here is correct. It's about a fist distance here, maybe a little more. Fist distance here, maybe a little less. The jo has a little more length, so you can come a little closer with the jo, but this is about right. Okay, now the swordsman in this exercise is going to drop their sword to the side. When the Jo attacks, you're going to step big to get out of the way, step big to get out of the way. We use ayumi-ashi because they're longer steps, and that hopefully will keep you safe. So the Jo, on the Jo side, you're here, you're going to draw pointing at their eyes. You want to think about if they make a false move, you might have to spear them right in the eye. As you start raising, you're going to see that target change to the throat. I want you to think about being able to get them in the throat, in the center. As this hand comes up, you have another possibility, which is spearing them with it. When it comes to here, you should, at this point, maybe you might have their feet. You know, if this comes in, you might come in, attack the foot. But at this point, go ahead and do your strike. So let's start from go ahead. Swords down to the sides. And Honte-uchi, hajime, cup and draw. Raise, watch your targets, change your grip, and 8. Okay. Again, cup the hand, draw back, feel your target in front of you. As you start to raise, target, strike. Okay. Stand up straight so that your posture is, right now you're kind of leaning this way. Get your hip under you. So this is the easiest explanation. When they say to use your hip, they're talking about using good posture. Okay? Because I want you to see what happens if I try to reach out further than my feet allow. The further I reach out, you can see that my butt is actually moving backwards to compensate, and I'm getting in worse and worse position and less power. So Brian asked me a good question the other day. There are techniques where we thrust in our techniques, and we'll thrust maybe like this. But if I thrust and I'm a little bit too far away and I go, can't quite reach him. Why am I thrusting? To push him away. If he's already away, maybe my thrust looks like this. Oh, look, he's already where I want him. Maybe I just, go ahead and convert to my next movement. Under no circumstances do you want to destroy your posture because it's not helping anyway, okay? Let's do a couple more of these. Honte ni kamai. Honte-uchi oi. All the way. Draw all the way back. And hajime. Targets. Turn the hip. And back. Nancy. That's your name, right, Nancy? Turn here. Then draw. Yeah, always turn at the beginning. And that puts your hand where it needs to be.
Okay.
In this technique. Yeah, so here, 1, cup, draw, targeting the eyes, hip, throat, and strike. Good. Yeah, even here you're a little bit forward. So if you're going to hit him with your hips, you're going to hit him with your hips forward. Here, not here. Yeah. Hey, yame, motoi. And let's, now we're going to change weapons. Now this is called, the person with the sword is called uchi-tachi. Person with the stick is called shi-dachi. So to change your role is called shi-uchi kotai. So to do that, what we're going to do is the swordsman brings the sword up, puts it in his right hand, holds it up. I hold the Jo up. We're going to reach out. I reach underneath, take the weapon. Now, because we're also going to switch directions, we each take 1/2 step to the left. I'm going to step forward and come around to the other side. From this position, when I'm given this, I just turn it over to here. Okay? So let's do this again. I'm going to do it again. Yeah.
What if you were grabbing a real sword? Because you'd
have a saya on it. Yeah, it's not a real sword. It's a piece of wood.
Yeah. So, because I was thinking like you wouldn't grab the blade if you.
Right, right. If someone's handing you a sword, you're probably going to do it more like this. But for ease of use, we're going to do it this way. So I have the sword originally on my hip. Is that in your right hand?
Now it's in my left.
Put it in your right hand. There you go. So what I'm going to do is I reach over and I put it in my other hand. Here you go. We're going to do this. Change your grip on the sword so that you have, turn it. There you go. So it's off to that side. I put this in my right hand and we come forward. Zoop. That's pretty much it. All right. So let's see.
You had the sword.
You had the sword. You're going to switch weapons and then, yeah, you're good. Bring the stick, just comes straight up because you're the boss. You just do the easy part. He has to switch hands. Now you get the sword. Notice the sword blade is pointing away from him. All right. And so step back. Change your grip so that you're holding the sword right. Yeah, there you go. And just here. And then step to the side and change your location. There you go. All right. So everybody's got sword on this side. Why did I do that? Sword's going to have to be on the other side. Switch back. Just move back when you receive the sword. Go ahead and come back over here. You're good. You're good. Swordsman on this side. No, you're good. Swordsman on this side. Let's check our ma here. Turn the sword over. Edge down. Edge down. There you go. So here, we're going to do Honte-uchi on the way back. You ready? Okay, not so much up. Think about pushing forward with the tip towards his eyes. That's a little better. All right. Here, swordsman now, sword down. So you've gotten your distance established. By the way, remember that distance. Look at him in the eyes. See how far away he is. That's how far you want to be at the end of the mat. All right? So, Honte-uchi. Yoi. Now you're going to step back. When that stick starts coming, you want to take a big step back, right? Hajime. Yate.
Step back more than that. Because now. Yeah.
Cup and draw. Come up, target, strike. Again, cup and draw. Start finding your targets and finish. And one more. Draw and hey. Okay, yame and toi. What do you think? Do you understand what I'm feeling?
She's wondering why I'm not moving out of the way of the stick.
No, she's fine. I'm not going to hit her.
Yeah.
I'm working on the stick because trying to get the hips at the same time.
Right. Those are a couple of big ideas. How to target them all the time is hard, and how to save that hip movement. They kind of work together though, because what you'll find is that if I start moving my hips here, look what happened to the tip. Okay.
I like the target.
Yeah. Just relax for a second. Courtney, let me borrow you for a moment. Can you grab a sword too? There's the last technique of omote is called hosomichi. And hosomichi has this wonderful moment. You have Jodan with the sword. At the very end of the technique hosomichi, I have just knocked her back with this thrust. And we're now in a little bit of a race because I've got to strike her in the face before she cuts my arm off right here. See this target? Her eyes are getting real big because there's a great target right there. So the question is, always been on this technique, why don't I get my hand cut off? Okay, so what happens is, first off, I've got a little bit of this off balance going here. And now you start to cut my hand off. And why didn't you?
Just couldn't. I wanted to.
Okay, so that's a big question, right? So we're in here, you're in Jodan, I've just done this. You're going to cut my hand off. How come my hand didn't? It's still attached, right? Well, yeah, look where it is here. It's just beyond where she can cut it. Now, at the beginning of the technique, it was from Jodan. Mathematically, it's going to be here because I just hit her. I draw this back. Now, see the distance. Go ahead and, no.
Not,
Yeah, it's really good, right?
but I'm pushed backward too. Yeah.
Now, what happens if I do this with a bad kihon? So you've got this, and I go like this, and oops, okay. Now, I've heard several explanations. One of the teachers says, oh, when they cut, you just move your hand. So you cut, and I go high. But it doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like, woo, you know, like you're skipping around it. It looks like you're just diving straight into her. And so I want to show you this again. She starts to cut, and the cut, two things in my current understanding of this is there are two issues going on. One of them is just the structure of how Honte-uchi works. So if you look at Honte-uchi, my hand's here. It's targeting your face. Honte, the actual ending position is here. Look at where this hand is. It's attached to this back hip. This is attached to my front hip. When I change position, look what happens to this hand. Right now it's over this line. It's still over that line. But this hand's now pushed forward. What I'm saying is that this hand, because it's attached to this hip, that when this hip is now behind, the hand drops a little bit. Here it's in front of center of my chest. When I do the strike, it's now down here by my hip. So one of the answers is the hand moves. The other answer is that I have filled the entire space that her sword's going to use with this stick. And it is my attacking. That even if I don't have her off balance here, she could be really strong and I'm not going to get her off balance. But at this point, I am using that attack to preempt the strike of the sword. So this is one of the things why it's important to have your kihon good, because if I don't have an attack right there, if when I draw the stick, if I'm not on line to her eyes, or when I start to move here, if I don't actually have a viable attack, then you know I'm going to lose that. So I guess I'm just reiterating the theme of good kihon fixes your kata and makes things work that you think wouldn't work otherwise. So with that said, let's move on to the next technique. So we're still going to have people using swords, so maybe just keep the swords over here, but grab your sticks. So the second strike is it's called Gakute, Gyaku-te-uchi. So Honte means basic hand, Honte. The hon in Japanese is meant to represent a scroll, a book. Well, a scroll, the inference there is that that is the source, the origin. So this is Honte. Gakute is with my hand turned over. It's really just about the same except this. Now, one thing that Osata Sensei likes to do is his Honte has a wider grip. So if you notice where my elbow comes, if I'm in Honte, I still have room to grip underneath my elbow. That's Osata Sensei's arm width. Now I want you to see when you go to Gakute and you turn this hand over, it's actually a little shorter. So from Honte being a little long to Gakute being a little bit shorter, this is your length for Gakute. So at this place right here, I want you to notice that my hands are parallel and my knuckles are lined up on the bottom edge of the stick, and it causes a little bit of a bend in my wrist at the top. That is correct and proper, okay? Want to hold this stick out. I'm going to do this with you. You want to hold this out in front of you. No, hold the stick. See right here, it's not strong. What I want you to do is step a little bit wider, and I want you to turn your back heel a little forward and bring this out so that it's pushing out from your center. Now stand up straight. There you go. Ah! All of a sudden it got really strong. So you want to have your body. This is koshi. Can everybody see where he's got this? This right here, if you were to draw a line down that stick, it goes right to the sacrum, right to that triangular root of the pelvis. So that's where you're going to maintain your power. A couple of ways that this Gyaku-te-uchi is done. When you're beginning Gyaku-te-uchi, you're going to start from here. You just reach out, and I want you to make sure you can feel the edge of the jo with your little finger. And then your back hand starts to come up here. By the way, you don't need to do this little crane lift on it. You can rotate your hand around. It's a round stick. You can rotate your hand. So now I'm here. Notice my hands are in line still. And if I were targeting, I would be targeting here. This is a fairly good defensive place. Then as this stretches out, I'm going to release that hip and strike through here. On top. Hands should be on top. See this? You're on side. No. Look at the... Okay. Relax. Elbow down. Elbow down. See here? Look at my... So I'm here. This is stretched out. But it's not... The shoulder's not lifted. Hey? All right. So we have Gakute. Yeah? Let's draw back till I feel the edge with both pinkies. Bring it up over, stretch, throw the body into the strike, twist that hip in. And again, and eight. And again, eight. Let me back up and let's do one more. Stand straight, you're a big guy, you're standing shorter than me. And eight. There you go. Going backwards, draw and strike. Draw. Hey. This should come almost overhead. The angle should be maybe 1130. Hey. And one more, draw. Nancy, when you draw here, this is targeting. So yeah, keep it on and keep it on them. As this comes up, think about your targeting. Targeting, eight, and you come back. And yame means to stop, and you turn the hand over to honte. This is a zanshin position. Relax. There. Feel this? There you go. And motoi. Stop here. All right, let's get everybody who had a sword originally. Courtney, Brian, Tony, Brian. So when we do the sword part for this kihon, the basic sword movement as an exercise is fairly simple. What you want to do, go ahead, Brian, you know this paired exercise, right? So we're going to meet weapons here. I'm going to draw back, targeting his eyes, throat, at this point his hands, and then I come to strike. I'm going to try to strike him in his temple right here. And he's going to take the sword and catch it, catch it. Notice that he stepped back to open this side of his body. His hands are in front of his chest right here. It's going to catch the strike there. So then he's going to straighten out his posture and come back to Seigan, crossed weapons. Next strike. 8. And back. Good. There you go. And anyway, continue. That's the drill, okay? So here, go ahead and pair up with Brian, Nancy, and Courtney. All right. Catch mai. You got your distance. And Gakute. Reverse grip. All right. From the top, Gyaku-te-uchi. Oi. Be ready to skewer them. This is still a skewering position. Hajime, up and strike. Okay, on the sword, make sure you catch that. Yeah.
Seem to be on the wrong
So,
side. It'd be on this side, right?
Here. All right, and then, yeah. And then again with the Jo, strike, draw, keep an eye on, don't let it,
Like that?
yeah.
Phone's swinging all over the place.
Your target should be
Beside
here.
her head.
Yes. Hey. Please continue at your own pace for a sec. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Good, solid. All right, now draw and don't move.
Okay.
Go ahead and come over and I want you to get her right there. Should be here. So the length of, oh, well, you have to step longer. So if she's
Do I
here,
move, you mean just stand here?
yeah, yeah. So I'm taking a pretty big step.
And the back step comes
And I got,
to the
yeah,
front,
yeah. So I got plenty of room actually.
And I will not be there.
And she won't be there. But I'm just giving you as a reference. This is where you're going to strike. Strike the letters on this stick. Okay.
I'm still timid about whacking
Yeah.
people.
So I think one of the, and I don't know, I don't want to, well, when you do this strike, I want you to watch my forward hand. I can't get very far. If you think about it, this stick wants to turn over. Look at the range if I'm here, go ahead and range with the sword, and I come like this, and I just turn the stick over. I get that far without moving my feet. If I move my feet, it gives me the rest of my distance. But if I pull this back like this, now I've just shortchanged my steps. So maybe that. Here, try this. You're almost following that front hand into the... Yeah. Okay. All right, I want everybody with the Jo to try this for a second. You're here. 1, 2. Without moving, I want you to just squeeze with your little fingers in your grip and just grip the stick over. Look where that goes. Yay!
Maybe there's not.
And if anybody's done Iaido, this is very much like you would do in the eye. Yeah, that's the range of your stick without you even moving. Bop. You know. So now, what happens if you have this posture and you draw that back? You spin this over, and you see where it's going to get away from my hands? That might be a good place for me to step, right? Hey. Yes. And hip forward, hip forward. Hey. Okay, let's Good, good, good. All right, let's exchange weapons without changing position so that the sword's in this backside. All right. Okay, for you guys, since you have less experience with the sword, what I want you to do is protect the side that the stick's going to. So here, remember, elbows in, sword in front of me, here, here, here. You want to keep it slightly vertical, so it's like this. If you step back with this foot, boom. See how this is in front of your center? Yeah. So, okay, let's get our range. Everyone range together. Gakute. Swords. All right, now when the strike comes, it's going to come, whichever foot you have forward, that's where it's going to come onto that blind side. So step back, ayumi-ashi, and block in front of you. Hey, let's go slow. Gyaku-te-uchi, yoi, hajime, block, come back to your distance, come back to square distance. Yeah, there you go. And then, again, draw over the top and strike to the temple. Okay, recover your distance. Draw, when I say that was to be the sword recovering distance, draw, raise up, think about your target right now. Can you target them with your thrust out from your front hand? Don't forget that. And then over the top and strike. Don't overextend yourself. Keep your shoulders in your hips. If you watch this, if I try to push out with my shoulders, my hips are disconnected from the action. I want to drop my shoulders into my hips this way and use my hip really as my power, right? So here, watch where my shoulders go. Hey. Down, good posture here, not out like this. Okay? It's very difficult to get the hang of, but once you do, everything, I'm talking about every martial art, is going to function better. Okay? All right, and let's do one more of these. Guy, if your back is against the wall, be careful not to go off the edge. Draw, target, stretch, strike in, and yame. Turn the hand, motoi. All right, so those are kind of fun, but now we're going to do something a little different. There's another way that we use Gyaku-te-uchi. Could you grab the sword, Courtney? Thank you. And go ahead and take a watch of this. We have several kata where you begin the kata by matching weapons, and then the Jo attacks first. Well, sort of. If somebody draws a gun on you, you've been attacked. You're under attack. So this person has their sword out and they're holding it out in a threatening manner. And Kasumi is this posture. When the sword comes up, go ahead and come from Hasso. Beginning of Kasumi here. So I am keeping her at this distance because I've got this pole in front of me. The next thing we do in this kata is I'm going to draw back and I'm going to knock her sword out of the way. This is one of those things where the question is, if I just start nailing it from here, just lift your sword out of the way.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to do that and then you're killed. So I can't afford to decide the time and place of the strike until it's time, right? So what I need to do here is I'm going to draw back. I'm going to get this in position here. You notice that I'm leaning a little bit in, but I actually haven't turned my hip yet. And I also want you to look at the contact point. A couple of things you should notice about this. It's the middle of the Jo. It is, gosh, that's almost a perfect 90-degree angle. A lot of people will do this technique and they'll hit like this. And just have a little bit of the Jo and at this really light glancing angle. And you end up with something that looks like this. Okay? What I want to do is I want to get a hold of that thing and I want to get it out from in front of me. So what I do is I put this here and then I'm going to do this. Okay? And that gets it out from in front of me. On the sword side, when that happens, you're going to let that go and just recover, absorb that with your feet. So that instead of getting thrown to the side, you absorb it like this. And then the kata goes on. But I just want to take a look at this point. I want you to look at how low I am, where this hand is to my body. I'm projecting this out from my hip here. And then when I turn my hip, that's what, the final point of this is like this. Look where this is. It's outside of that knee. Do you know Tate-hiza?
Seated position?
Yeah. Do you know the technique uki-gumo? Uki-gumo is a technique where you end up with a cut over here. It's outside the knee. It's the same thing. It's kind of the same motion. So here, that late use of the body creates a huge strike on that. And in a lot of ways it's similar to hikiotoshi. So what I'd like to do is pair it up. The sword part is pretty easy right here. You hold the sword and the other person whacks on it. Hikiotoshi has a similar drill. If I'm doing hikiotoshi, I'm here and I'm going to take this hand. Look where the strike point is. Halfway through the Jo, contact at Honte-uchi, 90-degree angle. Hikiotoshi, does that feel any different? It's the same thing. So the only thing we're doing here is we're doing it from Gakute and we're doing it in this strike. And you feel how that also threatens your whole body.
Absolutely.
Okay, Yamaguchi Sensei does this and it's just this gigantic, big, low, powerful movement, and you know, it's like eating candy when I watch him do it. So I'd like for everyone to try this and to work on this idea of holding back the hip turn while you get that placement, and then hold the sword up for a second. Right here at this point, I'm kind of crossed over, right? I've stretched out as far as I can go. She'll notice that this is right down the middle of her body. I'm already displacing the sword a little bit, and what I'm going to do is drop and turn my body at that last moment, okay? This will really, really improve that encounter. This happens in several kata. When you've got to get that sword out of the Midare Dome too, I think. How's that? Is it Midare Dome? Anyway, let's try that. Let's pair up, get every other person with a sword. And the Jo, I want you to practice a little bit of that second strike, the Gyaku-te-uchi, using the mechanics we were just working on. Okay? Okay, let's play with that a little bit. Okay? So you have here, zat, place it, place it with your hip back. Try to hold that hip back and boom, move through with your whole body. Your follow through should be a little outside. Let me show you here. So we're in this position like this. I come back here. So stop at that point. Just see what does it take to get there. And you see where I'm having to turn my hip from about here. This is kind of okay because look where the stick is. It's way in front of me already. But you see how as it comes down here, You have that side. Huh? So here. So you're in this position. Normally, you can do it either side.
Change this position.
Yeah. So on top, look how my hand is. Yeah, just the wrist.
Just relax.
Yeah. So here, down, over the top, and yeah. Whoa, whoa. Now I want you to, yeah, middle of the Joe's right there. You want that? Look how here. Let's scoot for a second. You Dallas Stars, or what is that? Is that Mavericks?
That's a Orlando Magic.
Orlando Magic? Oh, whatever. Didn't have a horse on it. I don't know what it is. Look at this. Right there.
So,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead and switch weapons when you come to the unchanged. Go back.
that should be right.
Yep, this way. And drive a little bit more. You can have this go down a little bit.
Yeah. The thing about this one that's so different is that you walk right through it. You know, if we were doing hikiotoshi, I'm out here going da da la la ah,
Sorry, I keep doing that.
and I'm gonna
Yeah.
knock this out, and then I don't even step
Right.
until I get the sword out of there. But this one, I'm out here and I'm saying, I'm gonna go ahead and get the sword out of there, and you notice that I walk right through you. And the thing that's so cool about this one is at this point is I want to feel my hip, actually, I want to put my hip over here. I want to actually, if you hold this a little stiff,
Hold it stiff.
you feel how I can feel your hips?
yeah.
I'm actually moving your hips. Now, what normally happens is you're not going to hold it stiff. You're going to be a little bit loose. You're going to, you know, if I want to put the sword over there, you're going to let me.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to do is at this point, as this sword, I want to put enough on it that this becomes a suigetsu.
Okay. Yeah.
Huh? Try.
It's a difficulty. Still up.
Okay, get the place, and now step. Yeah. Yeah, you throw your whole body. Just a few more reps. A little bit. Uh-huh.